to expand their family leadership capacity for national transformation. You are very welcome to the Inspired Family Leader Program with Samuel A. Bakutana, your host, a certified executive coach, an award-winning leadership consultant, global speaker, facilitator, and author. The CEO of Inspired Leaders International, which is an international leadership development firm that empowers leaders to transform nations, and your Provincial Father's Union President. Dr. Warren Farrell was right. He was extremely right. He said that when one sex wins, both sexes lose. When one sex wins, both sexes lose. And that's why both sexes have to support each other in order for both of them to actually win. This evening, we are talking about how men can support the working mothers in the workplace. Tomorrow, the 11th of May, 2025, will be the International Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day in advance to the ladies that are watching. And if you have your husband just somewhere nearby, call him to come right here as we talk about how men can support the mothers in the workplace. With me in studio, as you can see, is an amazing mother. Somebody who shares a name with my beautiful wife. Yes, Mrs. Charity Ngabirano, who is the head of EMDOS and Public Sector at United Bank of Africa in Uganda. When you hear EMDOS, you may wonder what that is about. That is largely about things like embassies, multilaterals, development organizations, NGOs, and foundations. So as you can see, she's adding a lot of value at the United Bank of Africa.
For Africa.
Yes, you're very welcome, Charity.
Thank you, Samuel. Thank you for hosting me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and how are you doing?
Terrific and ebullient.
And how is Charity, my namesake?
Lovely.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Good to have you here today.
Me too, Samuel. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I would like you to look into that camera right now and go ahead and introduce yourself. Let the viewers know who Charity, who is not Bakutana, but Charity Ngabirano actually is.
Okay, thank you, Samuel. Dear viewers, and I'm glad to be here in the studio. And as Samuel has already said, it's our Mother's Day Eve, so I'm very excited to be here.
It is Mother's Day Kasiki, like they say in Uganda.
Exactly. So we are having Kasiki in the studio as we prepare tomorrow to celebrate the great mothers of this country, of this nation. I am by the names of Charity Ngabirano, as he has already mentioned, and I work for the very big bank, Africa's largest global bank, which is UBA. Very proud to be a part of the family. We call ourselves the lions and lionesses of this.
The lions and the lionesses.
Of this Africa. And so I'm a mother, married with 3 children, very handsome boys and a beautiful girl. God blessed me with 3 children. So I'm a proud mother. They have made me a mother. Without them, I wouldn't be a mother. Thank you very much.
Amazing. It's good to have you here today, and I would like you to right away get to where the rubber hits the road. What are some of the challenges that are faced by working mothers that we want to focus on today?
Okay, as you know, we are living in a very terrific, speedy world.
Oh, yes.
So if you relax, then the world will leave you.
Roller coaster.
You have to run after it. So as working mothers, we have a lot of challenges. I've been working for the last 26 years.
26 years.
So you can imagine how I was able to run through.
I can imagine.
As a mother, as a wife, and as a leader.
All those are different roles.
Very different roles.
Even as a daughter, as a neighbor, as a community leader.
Exactly.
There are so many.
We wear different hats, but at the same time. You see me in a white hat, in a gray hat, and all those have to be worn at the same time. You keep on piling on top of each other. So as a working mother, there are very many challenges. First of all, family. How do you balance family? As we had yesterday a forum, a conference on working bankers. I have come to learn that there is no work-life balance. Actually, it's a work integration. You have to integrate your family.
Integration.
Exactly. So you cannot balance family and work. You have to integrate the two. So what are those challenges? There's a lot of challenges ranging from house chores. As a working mother or a wife, you're expected to be at home.
Yes.
You leave your office, your work, amid stress. You start from 0-1 at home.
Yeah.
Look at the jump from where you work and where you stay. By the time you're in Tinder, depending on where you stay, your heart is already pumping. I haven't fixed that meal because I have to serve my husband.
Oh, yes.
We have
and
different
your children.
cultures and the children. I haven't done my homework. The children have come from school with a pile of homework. You have to go through with them. You have to know what you're going to have a meal for tomorrow. Then you have to do your homework from work because you have not completed work because of the busy schedule. So you leave to run home, finish the family chores, and then when everybody else has gone to sleep, you open the laptop to start work. You are going to bed what time?
I am being tempted to ask a certain question, but I will not. Especially when you say, when everybody has gone to sleep, then you open the laptop. So I'm wondering, those ones who have gone to sleep, some of them are supposed to be sleeping in the same room somewhere. But let's go on. Challenges.
Exactly. So you'll join them later, as if I sleep in the night.
It.
And then there's a lot of activity.
Yeah.
And so your day starts exactly at 4 because you have to wake up very early to prepare for your husband, prepare for your children, and be mindful of the jam between home and work.
Oh yeah, jam is a job itself in
children.
Kampala.
So the woman has no time to sleep. You only have like maybe 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
And you start a new day. So it's a very challenging. You're balancing work, but you can't balance it. The challenges of maids, you know. You are trying to work and having some support at home, but in the middle there, you have to also manage the home affairs. So in between that, there are lots of disruptions. So before you know you're at work and somebody calls you, there's a problem at home. So I imagine how you want to balance that home and work, but you have to balance. You have to look for a balance so you can focus and deliver. Same in both places.
That makes you a superhuman being, you know, in one way or the other. Without the grace of God, this won't be possible.
Exactly.
And I think that's why we are talking about, you know, men coming on board to be of support.
Exactly.
And I'm glad we are here having this conversation because I sometimes feel that as men, we don't deeply appreciate and understand the kind of life that you go through as women to be able to become the women that you have to become.
Exactly.
Of course, on the other hand, it could as well be said, on the other hand, that women may also find a struggle in fully appreciating what it means to actually be a man and to be the kind of a man that you are expected to be. And that's why I always advocate for men and women truly listening to each other to try to understand the other person.
Exactly.
So, I don't know whether in your personal life you've had any experience as a working mother that required people to be around you to support you. Maybe any tough challenge that you could have gone through as a working mother that you wouldn't mind sharing with us today.
Oh yeah, some. There are very many. Very many challenges. As I said, there are thousands.
Yes.
But what has come in my mind quickly is one thing I'll never forget as a very young married mother who also got a job at the same time, almost, and gave birth immediately. So one tough experience is when I gave birth to my firstborn, and I didn't know how to breastfeed.
You didn't know how to breastfeed?
You can imagine.
Yeah,
and so the first shock was breastfeeding. It could sound so simple, but it was very difficult.
Oh yes.
In that, the firstborn, I would put the firstborn on the breast, thinking just a small is enough for him to suckle the milk. In the long run, I developed a wound because I was putting the force on the teeth. So that was the first shock as a working mother, a new mother, and I got a challenge with that. So I navigated through that pain, the shock, and it had to work. I was just a starting working mother. I work for the bank for the last 25 years. I've been a banker. For
25 years?
Yes. So I was a teller, you know, that teller who is a cashier. And then before you know, I get pregnant, second born. In just space of 1 year. I'm not yet done with the first born, now the second born comes through. That's where the challenge hit me hard. I gave birth to a very nice bouncing baby boy, the second born. And
what's his name?
He's called Malcolm. Maxwell.
Malcolm Nasasira. Yes.
He's just about 14 years now.
Wow.
So he was born a bubbly, nice baby, very humble. He rarely cried. With curly hair, you'd think he's a Somali. People thought he was a Somali. So the story is long, but let me compress 14 years in just seconds, right? So when this child was born, he had a condition which nobody knew. I would feed him, and I would see his stomach bulge. And I thought probably I'm overfeeding the child. So I took him to Nakasero, I gave birth to him, I inquired, and there was nothing. I went back home, and every time I would feed him, he would vomit back, vomit.
So you feed him, the tummy bulges, and then he
throws back. So probably I thought I was overfeeding the child. That's what the nurses told me. So I went back home, but it was every day. So I was very uncomfortable. This was my maternity leave. So it came to 1 month. I'm counting down, I'm almost leaving this child behind, but the condition is persistent. So I had to run around looking for solutions from different peds and different, children clinics to see what could be the problem. So finally, one of the doctors told me that I think he must be having a loop, in the intestine. They have to maybe go through an operation to cut it and join them together, so for the food to go through properly, the digestion.
Yes.
So I was hesitant. That was a shock.
That was a shock.
Then I had only about a week to going back to work. So I told them I'm about to resume my work, and I'm done with my maternity leave. So how will I go through the operation?
Yes.
He's a young child. He's just hardly 3 months. I got worried. But of course, I discussed with my husband what we can do. We had to now seek for second, third opinion. We didn't rush into it.
That often helps.
So we didn't. So long story short, the baby kept on. I was at work. He was at home. I would always be called, he's vomited. Because of the continuous throwing up, he began shrinking. So we'd go for polio. It's called immunization card. The graph began dropping.
It's dropping.
Before you know, it became stagnated.
Yes.
And you know what those nurses will tell you? You young mothers, you don't want to breastfeed your children because you want to keep your breasts up. And they didn't know what I was going through. I would be, they would embarrass you when you're in the queue and looking at the graph and put you on the side. I would shed tears, in that place. So I even had to dodge some places where they would embarrass me and resort to going to a very high-end hospitals where they don't want to know. You come, they do the business, and they go. So long story short, it's continued. I'm working, it's not working out. The baby is now even failing to sit because he's getting weaker. So I shared a little bit with my supervisor where I was.
At the workplace.
At the workplace. And thank God he was my manager, the challenges I had. At times I would come late, at times I would be in hospital, sleep over in hospital. So what happened actually, because Nakasero was closer to where I was working at Mombo Road branch, and the then provost, Reverend Stephen Turuome.
Yes, I
his house was
gentleman.
right below the hospital, and he wedded us. So I took the advantage of that. Thank God it's a Family TV and Church of Uganda. I had to mention it. So I would go to his house. Mama would take care of us.
Wow.
And then I would leave the child there, rush to office, and find the child there, then rush to Nakasero. So they helped me a lot.
Wow.
So along the way, we tried to look for solution, nothing. Then one time I went to another hospital.
So just first pause a moment.
Yes.
So I am seeing one man who supported in a way I wouldn't want us to miss.
Yes.
Okay. I am seeing that Stephen you've talked about.
Yes.
Who supported in a way of opening his house for you as a working mother to let your child be there because it was near your workplace so that you can quickly always go in and out and check on your child. So we see that one man there.
Thank you.
Feel free to share if there are any other men that supported you during that time.
Okay, they're quite
as you continue to share the story.
Exactly. So that was my manager, who was also Tony Thenge. He also supported me very much because he was my supervisor. He understood what I was going through, and I could easily relate with him and tell him what I was going through, and call in. I've come in late, a little bit late because my child didn't sleep well. But I would not use it as an excuse not to come to work. I would keep him informed and please report to work when I would settle in. So along the way, long story short, the child didn't go well. So again, I kept on sharing, and everybody at workplace knew that I had a very sickly child who was really disturbing me from the HR and my other friends. So he came to go to primary, to nursery rather. It scared me. I said, how can this child now go to school who is always vomiting? But in between there, when I discussed with my mother and my husband, they said, you know what, let's get a relative who can be able to come in and step in. Because these maids would come and go because it was irritating for them. And we needed somebody who can understand us and whom we can trust with our child. So we invited in a relative who...
Especially a child who is that frail and weak.
Exactly. Who would give us right information, who would give us the right information how the child has been. And so we invited in a relative who had dropped off from school, and she was able to take care of us, and it gave me some kind of stress reliever when I was at work. I knew that I would call on her and she would give me exact feedback.
Yes.
So along the way...
She had more of a stake in the family being a relative.
Exactly. So we have to look for support systems.
Support systems.
When you are a working mother. Otherwise you cannot do everything on your own. So along the way, this child, well, I'm cutting the long story short. It was a very long experience. So at exactly before he joined nursery, he was getting weak. I told you he was dropping down. The weight and the age were not balancing. So I couldn't take him there. So one time I decided to bring him, because it was getting too much, to come with him to work to observe him. He had not slept the whole night. So I brought him to work. But I feared, I said, if I bring him and it gets me, it's against the rules.
The rules, the policy of the organization.
Exactly, but I had nothing to do. So I told my supervisor, I am supposed to be seeing a doctor at midday, but I cannot rush to Chisasi, where I was staying then, to bring the child. I had to work, but be with him until I rush for the appointment. So while I was there, my managing director stepped in. Just, how you can come to the branch to just do a supervisory check-in. When I saw him enter, my heart skipped. I said, no, I'll be fired. How can I bring a child at work? So
in a banking hall.
In a banking hall, moreover. So while I was there, the baby cried. And I saw the MD turn and said, what's happening? Where is the child? I began to shake and tremble and look down, and he walked towards where the child was. And when the child saw this man, I think in the child's mind is a figure for maybe daddy has come. He raised his hand and reached out to the MD.
Oh, wow.
MD got him and he stopped crying. So when he was trying to put him down, the baby stuck to him, cried and stuck to him and held him by the shoulder. It was so emotional. And so he asked me, what's wrong with the child? So I had to take him through history, what has been happening. And he was so moved. Immediately he called the HR and said, let's give this lady some time to take care of the child.
Wow.
If it means her coming to office late or going early, try to arrange what can be best for her. That's another man in my life.
That was not Tony, this is a different one.
That's a managing director, a whole managing director of the bank then where I was working.
What was his name, if you don't mind?
He was a Nigerian called, it has skipped my mind.
Okay, MD.
I will remember.
Yes.
I will remember. So,
in a way, what I'm picking here is that for MD, there is a way he relaxed some policies in the workplace to somehow accommodate your special kind of situation at that moment.
Exactly.
Relaxation of some of the procedures and policies.
He was called Dele Alabi. Dele Alabi. He was a Nigerian. So that moment, I was asked to go home and first take care of the child. And I was there at home. I took care of him. I didn't even spend a month. You can imagine. They gave me a month, but in 2 weeks, I'd already resumed. I brought myself back, saying, well, there's nothing that will change. I've already seen the doctors. Let me not just go home and sit. So I would come in late and go early. And that eased my work, home balance. So along the way, as working mothers, if you have a challenge, don't keep it yourself. So because I was sharing, one of my workmates saw in the papers, New Vision, they were advertising Novik Hospital. There was a camp, a health camp.
A health camp.
And then she read, underlined, intestinal, whatever. So, and she remembered that I told them, my son doesn't digest well, the food doesn't go well, I'm supposed to go for an operation, but I haven't gone. So somehow she told me, oh, go and check it out. Probably these expatriates from India, they could help you. I was relaxed
Yes.
because I said I've seen the best of doctors. I did all the tests, by the way. We did barium, whatever you swallow. We did colonoscopy, endoscopy, all those things to check.
Every scopy.
Every scopy was done and went into those machines.
dear.
They even had to invert him upside down, see whether if he eats the food, can the food come back? See if there is what do you call it, food coming back.
Antiperistalsis.
Exactly. But the boy, it didn't come back. So all those things I had. Meanwhile, every time I would be moving with my son, I would have his bags full of all the medical reports. In case I land into a doctor, I don't have
Who
to
needs
go.
to see
exactly
what the story has been.
Exactly. And so this exactly happened at Novik Hospital. So when I came in, when I booked in, I went and I just explained the story like I'm talking now.
Yeah.
And I saw the Indians coming together and talking their the language on the laptop. And so they asked me to step out a little bit and they consult. I went out, there were like 5 of them. So they called me in again and they told me, well, I think we have, this condition is a condition called dysmotility syndrome.
Dysmotility.
Syndrome, it's a syndrome.
Yeah.
So the rhythm of the food from the mouth to how it moves doesn't move in the same rhythm as the normal. When you're eating food, you don't realize that it has a rhythm. Like a clock. A clock has a rhythm.
Yes.
So his rhythm of the food was different. It was very slow. If it was like tick, 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 his was tick, tick. So the moment you kept on packing him food, it would reach a point and get stuck.
Yeah.
So it would come out
Has to
again.
come out, yeah.
So it took so many years. This is about now 6 years, 7 years to get what
6 years of that condition and that situation.
condition
While you're dealing with that as a mother and at the same time having to deliver at the workplace.
at the workplace.
Yeah.
So they gave me some medication, which they told me to take, to give him just 30 minutes before he eats the food to compress everything in the way, so that when new food comes, it goes through quickly. And I had to do sort of like a puree. So all these things I'm talking about, I had to work with somebody at home, house help. I have to be at work. I have to monitor whether that medicine has been taken before the food to know, is the food ready? Hold on, let him take the medication. Then you start.
And meanwhile, the client is at the
at the till.
At the till,
So
you are serving and
you're serving. You're rushing to the bathroom. The calls are in the bathroom, trying to balance the thing. Not easy.
of course.
But that ended, and actually he got his healing then through a colleague at work. As simple as that. He never went for an operation.
Wow.
It was something we never understood in this country, and somebody who flew in, I think it was meant for me. God sent an angel purposely for me. And Malcolm, we don't remember no more. We actually forgot the 30 days. We never remembered because the vomiting ended and he was eating food normally.
Wow, we really thank God. This is what in Christian circles they call a testimony. A testimony. Revelation chapter 12 verse 11 says they overcame the enemy by the power of the blood and by the word of their testimony.
Exactly.
Wow. So I see a Reverend Stephen Turuomwe opening his home to support this working mother.
Yes.
Because his home is near the workplace.
And the hospital.
And the hospital.
Yes.
I see a Tone Senge, the manager, who is trying to ensure that he gives support to the best of his ability as a supervisor.
Exactly.
I see a Mr. Alabi, the managing director, who relaxes some of the policies and some of the procedures to ensure that you are still able to play your motherly roles while at the same time you're delivering in the workplace. Exactly.
And to add on that, I was surprised that when he was leaving, his term ended, I was in his handover report to the incoming MD, telling him that we have a staff here, very hardworking lady, but she has these challenges. Just in case you get to know, please support. Can you imagine?
Wow. You were in the handover report of the MD.
You can imagine.
So that's another form of support.
Exactly.
You know, recommendation, referral.
Exactly.
Wow. And now, you know, yesterday you and I were somewhere. We were at Protea Hotel in Kampala with probably more than 200 women during the Women in Banking and Finance Conference at Protea Hotel, where I was given a chance to be on the panel, one of the panelists, dealing with matters of being an inspired family woman and so on and so forth. I remember Madame Goretti Masade, the CEO of the Uganda Institute of Banking and Financial Services, she made an amazing statement. She said, as ladies, let us not use our situations as excuses.
True.
Let me repeat it. She said, as ladies, let us not use our situations as excuses. I am hearing that coming through in your story. As you went through this situation, how did you exemplify this advice so that your fellow working mothers can be able to learn from that so that they don't use their situations as excuses even when the situations are very valid?
Yeah, thank you, Samuel. Yeah, very, very true. And as I climbed the ladders, I realized that can also hinder your work.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to be a stumbling block for the progress of my boss or my supervisor. Because if I don't play my part, then I affect everybody in the value chain to deliver the bank's revenue profit. So as you rightly said, I did not use that opportunity or excuse not to be absent at work.
Yes.
Or not to say I've been called and there is an emergency and I throw the cash on the ground and I run away. I ensured if there is a problem, they've called me, I would tell my supervisor there is a challenge at home. Allow me balance early so that I can rush before the jam and take care of this. And if I return and I'm done early, I will pass by and complete my work.
So I'm hearing communication with your supervisors.
Exactly. So I'll do that. I would ensure I'm done. Or sometimes it's like having when you have an issue and you don't want to break it and disorganize everybody.
Yes.
You wait for the day to end or that moment to end and then you bring it out. So even at workplace, as ladies as we work, there could be challenges not only to the children, there could be marital challenges, there could be so many challenges, but you don't have to use them to hinder your progress at work. Because when you do that and you're the very person who always has excuses, even yourself, you will be a stumbling block to yourself for progress, for promotion. They'll always say she's always having issues, she's always absent.
Yeah.
Then they come to the scorecard, it is the worst. So, and yet it is it's where you're getting your food from. As you know, honestly, when I was going through that, at one point I said, maybe I should resign. Why am I in this whole
So why
situation?
didn't you resign? Since you thought about it and maybe it was some sort of a solution to the challenge you were going through,
Yes.
to be able to leave the workplace and be at home and take care of this child. So what stopped you from resigning?
So again, they call it cost-benefit analysis.
Cost-benefit analysis.
You look at the cost-benefit analysis. I realized that, look here, I was able to run through all these clinics and hospitals,
Yes.
high-end, because my office, my workplace, was supporting me on the health sector. Because
What do you mean? Supporting on the health sector? What do you mean?
I have insurance.
Okay, there was health
I was
insurance.
very covered,
Yes.
very covered, and also my family. So if I thought of leaving work or resigning, everybody behind me, the 4 people behind me would be affected. Because my husband was working for the civil servant, so they didn't have the insurance. So
Yes.
everybody was lining behind me and looking at how much we spent on this child. Honestly, as a growing young family,
Yes.
would never have achieved, probably would have lost the child along the way. So that kept me going. I said, you know what? Even when things are tough, I know I have
There's an
something.
opportunity here.
There's a benefit here.
So the big thing that kept you from not resigning,
Insurance.
was because there was that health insurance at the workplace
Yeah.
that was covering you, your husband, and your children.
But most importantly, the child who was in question.
Yes.
Because it was very expensive. I'd walk in, something funny. I would come from Nakasero. They tell me there's an issue here. There's no issue. I wouldn't be comfortable. I'd rush to case. The next thing, I would rush to Lifelink. The same day. So imagine if it wasn't for the insurance, I wouldn't have handled. Because all this is you're spending money, you're paying
Of course.
consultants. So that kept me. I said, you know what? Let me work for my child. Because it's all I need. Even if I left and even if I had my own, for example, shop or business, I would close it to be in hospital.
Of course.
And I would fail to get the money that very day. So what will I use to pay for the bills? So that kept me going. I said, you know what? Let me stay here.
I want to believe that you had this conversation with your dear husband.
Definitely.
I am just wondering, I'm just curious, forgive my curiosity. I am curious to know, what was he thinking about the possibility of resigning in the midst of the increasing bill or the possibility of the big bill to pay for this? What was the conversation like in the house?
Obviously, it's me who brought it up and said, you know
Okay.
what, enough is enough. I think I'm going to resign, sit here and see my child. Because at one point I thought I'm losing this child.
Yeah.
And I said I want him to depart well when I've done my best. So I discussed, said you can't. Why? Actually gave me an example, even if you left and came here,
Yes.
what are you going to add on the table? Because you'll still be here to take care of the child who will need money. We're just starting.
Oh yes, you were
So
both,
just
both of you were at the
exactly.
starting stage.
So just hang in there. It won't be forever. The support that you get from your spouse. So
your
when
spouse.
when you're communicating and you understand each other and you move forward. So I said, as long as this is catered for, the rest leave it for me. I'll handle.
Oh.
And so we worked and moved in that direction.
So he says, hang in there, at least for the sake of this health insurance that is helping us concerning taking care of our child. Then the rest of the things leave me to handle.
Exactly.
Wonderful form of support too.
Exactly.
And that aligns with what came out of a survey I did 3 weeks ago, where I asked men, I said, what do you need from your wife? That was all I asked. What do you need from your wife? So I got 145 responses just 3 weeks ago. And I got all that information, curated the information like the researcher I am, put everything in blocks, analyzed the information, and I found that the number one need that the men were expressing, 145 responses, was not sex, was not food, like we have always been told. It was support.
Exactly.
And that support came in different forms. Spiritual support, being a prayer partner in matters of faith, but also support in being a development partner in the home, and so on and so forth. Support came first. Second was honor, which had willing submission and also unconditional respect. So number two was honor. And to cut the long story short, one of the conclusions was that whenever ladies leave home and go to a certain place called a workplace, for men, most of them, it means nothing until that corporate work translates into domestic support. That was one of the conclusions. And now I see it in exactly what you're sharing. When he says, you know what, just hang in there so that we have access to that health insurance as I am also dealing with these other things.
Exactly.
Yes. Wow. So your boy is now 14 years old, Marco Mnasasira.
Yes.
What a miracle. You know, people think miracles, they are about Lazarus jumping out of the grave.
The grave, yeah. True.
But when you now talk about Malcolm and his 14 years, it's just amazing. And of course, learning from your journey, therefore, in which ways can men practically support the mothers in the workplace without negatively affecting the work at hand? So out of this story that you've shared,
Okay.
just give some practical ways how men can support the mothers in the workplace.
So honestly, when I was going through that, I realized that we have to categorize
Yes.
the support. There is home support,
Home support,
whereby we have to have shared household chores.
so
Divide.
participating in the
Exactly.
home chores.
Home chores. If I have left and I'm at work and you're at home, and you can easily supervise and say,
Yes.
we need to clean this compound, we need to have this place tidy.
Yeah.
So you are supporting us, and also help with the child care. Assist me with the duties, pick up kids from school. You know, there's this heavy jam when kids are
Yeah.
breaking off.
Yeah.
And at one point you have this meeting that you cannot leave, but you know they are breaking off today at maybe in the morning, but you have a very morning meeting. So we need support from home. Can you go and pick the children? Or can I go and pick the child if you're busy? So we need all those things, or
Yeah.
even dropping off. You know, in our workplaces, work starts at 7:30.
Yeah,
Yet there's jam.
of course.
So support we need from men. You know, I know at times they call it extravagancy, but sometimes it's not extravagancy. If all of you have to be in different places at the same time, support your wife. Get her that small car if you can, so that all of you are comfortable, but you're able to deliver at the same time.
Yeah.
Because if you're dropping off the kid at school, I can also be able to drive off to office. If I come early, I can pick them from school and maybe you can come later, and then we communicate. I'll be home late, I have a meeting, can you please be able to pick the child this afternoon? And then also we need emotional support.
Support.
Listen to me actively, because we don't need stress. There's a lot of stress.
Of course.
If I came with stress from work, be able to listen to me, even if
Yes.
it doesn't make sense for you. You are not understanding what I'm telling you, how the boardroom is very hot. Just listen to me. I need
It's
your
valid.
emotional support.
Yes, yes.
And then encourage me. I need when I come from work and I have all this burden, I want to resign or maybe it didn't go well. Encourage me. You can do better. You're better than this. It's just a moment, you know. So that support we need from our men. And then acknowledge and validate your partner's feelings. If I'm feeling that way, just understand me. Don't begin to argue with each other. Understand them. At that moment, they need your validation. Because rather you will have a lot of arguments that won't help and you add more stress. And also, another thing I looked around is trying to do the errands. They always say men don't go for groceries, they don't shop food.
I wonder which men. I do them.
So you're a one in a million. So we are looking for practical support for that working woman. If you're coming from up country, don't pass by that market and just come empty.
That matoke.
Matoke, that tomatoes, those things on the road, those ripe, mangoes. So
my wife, high five. You know why I'm saying high five, my wife.
Then I assist practical support. I fixing some things.
Yes.
You know, you're a man. You know, I wouldn't find a woman climbing all the chairs and trying to fix that bulb and all that.
But we are now talking of equality.
Practical.
I thought equality would also mean that you also
climbing
can
up
now
the chair.
Hey. Because what is equality?
Let's be practical. So I'm trying to see.
So there is a bit of impracticality in equality.
Yes, and then be flexible and adaptive.
Flexibility, yes.
And adaptability. Be adaptive to change. If today you woke up and I said your woman has been transferred to Ethiopia, be flexible. Because you're going
I let you go?
You let me go.
I become a single man again for the next 1 year?
That is flexibility.
Why can't you also be flexible enough to leave that one go and we keep here
You're
together?
having a working woman. And this working woman, men ask, what are you bringing on the table?
So does working woman mean that she must be in Ethiopia?
I mean,
can't work be somewhere else also?
So work has thrown me.
Let me now shake these tables, Charity. Because I am pro-marriage and pro-family.
Yes.
We sometimes have to make very tough decisions in order to build our families.
So we have to be flexible. Or leave alone Ethiopia. I'm working for Centenary Bank, for example, and I've been transferred to Kunjiri.
Yes.
And they say, you can't go.
Yeah.
Be flexible at the moment. As maybe you're trying to see her, and then support her. If you think it's very far, what have you done to support her? Maybe get another job within the same place around. So that is the support we need from the men, practically.
Hopefully, I have a job myself as I try to look for yours.
Exactly. So when you provide my emotional support and you're helping me work through as a mother. You encourage me to keep the fire burning, and then you share my success, because my success is your success.
Yes.
When I make it up there, and I'm shining up there, everybody else is, including you. So be the one cheerleader for that working mother. That's how I would want the men to support us as working mothers.
Oh yeah, and I strongly believe that this would make a huge difference, not only in the life of the mother who is working, but also in the life of this very man,
of course,
at home. And you see, this is very important because we are not only restricting the men's support to the husband at home, but also men in the workplace.
Exactly.
Not only restricting this to men in the workplace, but also the man at home. Generally speaking, men, even around all over the place. I mean, recently I was going somewhere and I was at the airport before I got into this plane, and when I looked back like this before we went to get into the plane, this lady was holding the baby, holding a big bag and trying to move down. When I looked at her, I could tell that she was really struggling. So I quickly turned back and said, good morning, may I please help you with the bag? So I just got hold of the bag, and you could see she was so appreciative. She felt good about it. I could tell from the face. So it's not only the men in the workplace or the men at home, but generally in the community.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So here is now the funny bit of it. Let me open the Pandora box. As we talk about men supporting the mothers in the workplace, there is a category of mothers that are quite interesting. In a sense of, let me say, they just don't want help. They don't want to be helped. If I can put it that bluntly.
Yeah.
They are so difficult to help. Difficult to help in a sense of sometimes they deny their need for help, or they are always suspicious about every man that comes around to offer any support. What is your advice to those mothers?
You know, they say that no one is an island, and you cannot live as yourself. You know, you need help around yourself, you need support. And so there are those women there. Just like you said, at times you can say, let me extend a hand, and you're embarrassed.
You know.
And someone says, I mean, why? Why are you helping me?
And you know, I'm asking this because it happened to me one time. I will not get into details, but one time I reached out very humbly to try to assist a certain lady in our neighborhood. Oh my. She just looked at me, held her hands, herself akimbo, and asked me a tough question I can't be able to say online here.
I can imagine. So that they call it the ego.
Ego, yeah.
That's called ego, and you have to let go. Recognize that you need help. I know of somebody, I will not mention here, who was also, she was lame. Every time we try to help her, she'll tell you, you think I cannot help myself? I can't climb the ladders because I'm lame. So there are those who are there, even if they're not lame physically,
yes,
but in their mind, they are
mentally lame.
They're lame. You find a lady who is struggling and the car is on the roadside and she says, I can do it. I'm okay.
Yeah.
But all those, that is ego. You need to break down the ego, the pride, and know that you have support. And sometimes women, they are struggling, and when, for example, your supervisor comes your way, you'd think they are advancing on you. You want to stay, have a distance. Yeah. But honestly, we all need help. Such women are there.
So big walls,
Yeah, they build walls around them. And if you don't communicate or if you don't open up and you want to remain in a cocoon, you will die of stress. That's why you find somebody, by the time they open up, the stress has already eaten them up and they are no gone. So how do I encourage such ladies, or tell them they need to have... to open up, encourage them to socialize. In fact, those ladies, such people, and they're unsocial. Let me call it unsocial. So encourage them to socialize and build network. In that way, they break the barriers. They reduce to their ego, and they're able to understand that we're living in a society whereby we need support of each other. I mean, I know where you live. There are those families or homes where you cannot penetrate because they have built walls around them. But when an issue happens, even you don't want to go and peep, and they come looking for you because something has happened. Yeah. So we need to just understand that we cannot live as islands. We need support. We cannot be self-sufficient, omnipotent, omnipresent, not at all. Yeah. But they are there. So one way I can encourage, especially in the workplace or in the neighborhood, not necessarily workplace, we need to open up and have those social gatherings, community gatherings. There are lots of Rotary families. There are lots of Niginas, clubs, fellowships, Mothers Union, Fathers Union. Exactly. So let them have. I want to thank Reverend Stephen Tirome. I remember one time when we had just wedded, he invited all of us for dinner. Yes. All the couples that he ever wedded. Wow. So that means it was encouraging some kind of fellowship, interacting, and I think it went on for some seasons. But of course, he retired. But I would imagine even. And by the way, recently he published a book. Oh. Yeah, I saw it today. I was at Aristoc, and I saw his book. Yes. I need to get it. So we need, in our workplace, in our churches, in our communities, we need to encourage such gatherings, social networks, to break the barriers, and we work together and support. So in other words, as we are saying that men should be able to support these working mothers should equally be helpable, supportable. They should make work a little bit easier for those genuine men who are coming to offer a hand. Exactly. Not making it very difficult for people around to be able to be of support. True. As we almost come to the close of this conversation, I want to believe that this kind of support in a way has to be mutual. It's not only men always supporting working mothers, men always supporting working mothers, men always supporting working mothers. We need to as well have women supporting working fathers. Exactly. If I can put it that way. All fathers. All fathers, basically speaking. Yeah. So maybe in a minute or two, in your view, how can women also be quite supportive to the fathers in the workplace? Thank you. So just like where you are or where I was in my space, I expected help from men. As years go by, I also would expect to extend the same to the men Because also the men have challenges.
They do.
And more challenges. Probably they're going through stress of money, school fees. They cannot imagine that term is very next week, but one we shall have kids going back to school.
Oh, yes.
Around 19th.
Oh, yeah.
And these salaries come between 27th to 30th. So the men are already now trying to say, what will I do? They're already in holidays, they're eating food.
You see him silent, you think he's thinking about a girlfriend, when actually thinking about school fees.
Exactly. So we need also, as women in our workplace, support these men, the young men, the older men, and see how much we can give in terms of also not giving them a lot of work and thinking because they are men, they can work longer and go home late. Because remember, we are having a balance, right? So if I went home and this man comes at 10, I might think he's coming from above, when actually he's been stuck at work.
Yeah.
Or maybe as a woman, I would expect him to provide everything from school fees to feed everything, yet we're both working. So I would encourage women here. God has blessed you with that good job, or even if it's average job, it doesn't hurt for you to share responsibilities. There's a man who challenged me recently, and he came to open an account, and he said, I'm opening an account. So I said, okay. I met him along the way, average young man. So, and then I opened an account. I said, I have money from my wife, but she wants me to put it on my account. I said, what do you mean? You know, as lady said, what do you mean? I said, no, you must be stealing your wife's money. I said, no, I need to call her for me. So I called the wife, said, did you tell this man that we deposit your money on his account? He said, yes. I said, why? Don't you have the national ID? I asked this man, why don't you have a joint account for both of you so that you can have fair? The woman told me, if I don't trust this man in Luganda, whom will I ever trust? That was one in a million.
Wow.
I said, you know what?
Actually, they are not. It's not one. They are now like 5 in a million nowadays.
I went ahead and instructed my fellow staff to open an account for that man. And the money is coming from a woman. So you can imagine that I was telling you the support.
Yes.
Because the man was earning less than the woman. And they had so much responsibilities. So I'm trying to say, share responsibilities. If the money has come in late, and you have the money, don't keep that money on the account. You can reach out and pay that school fees.
And you let your husband die of stress because he must provide
everything. So we need to share responsibilities. And then, but we need to communicate. Men have to learn to communicate. I will not know that you don't have money if you don't tell me.
Of course.
Again, ego. Put it down and say, you know what, things are hard. I don't think I'll make it full. I have only half. Well, how much do you have? You know, and if you have been communicating, it's so much easier.
That's so true. That's so true. Many times I talk with a number of couples who sometimes are having a few struggles here and there, and I realize that most of them those struggles are coming from a lack of communication.
Exactly.
Poor communication or no communication at all. In fact, I came across some research that was showing the top 10 marriage problems globally. And number one was a breakdown of communication.
True.
And when they came to the side of the top 10 solutions for marriages globally, number one was communication effective. So it's a number one problem for marriages, a number one solution for marriage. So where men and women, husband and wife, where they are talking, where they are conversing, where they are communicating one another openly and transparently, we usually don't have some of the challenges that we see all over the place.
Exactly.
I hear you. So tomorrow is Mother's Day, 2025, 11th of May. And the theme, the global theme for Mother's Day is going to be celebrating motherhood, a timeless bond. Celebrating motherhood, a timeless bond. There is no doubt, in one or the other, mothers always have that bond with their children.
Exactly.
And one of the reasons, of course, it's about the time that you spend with the children right from birth, as you're breastfeeding, as you're cuddling and all that, the bond is naturally created. But also, away from the natural cause of the bond, there is the artificial cause of the bond that most mothers, I won't say mothers, I will say most mothers, they spend more time intentionally with the children, especially the first couple of years with the child, which sometimes is different with the fathers. Unless a father decides to be very deliberate and very intentional, this may not happen. So tomorrow, as we celebrate motherhood, talking about that timeless bond, what's your brief message to the fathers who are watching, who are also interested in really deepening the bond with their children, like their mother?
Thank you very much, Samuel. So as we celebrate the Mother's Day, first of all, start with showing the children how you appreciate their mother.
Yeah.
They will learn from you because you're there their TV.
Give them a loved mother.
They're watching you. So it's Mother's Day tomorrow. Those small, simple celebrations. So I encourage you the first thing in the morning, if it's breakfast, if it's that flower, in any way you can, if you can shout her name and celebrate her, do it. So in that way...
I will shout her name.
Exactly, because you see, as you said, the children are so much attached to their mother. So anything you do for their mother, you've already touched their hearts. Already that's a bonding. And also as fathers, be present. Even when you have a tight schedule, be present and engage your children in various activities. If there is a school concert, please, even if you attend and the child has seen you on stage and you've waved and you've disappeared, he will not know. But he has seen daddy has come and has seen me. They will dance to their best because daddy is in the crowd.
Daddy is somewhere around.
Be a cheerleader. They're having sports day, they are running, even if he's the last. Cheer them on. You'll make it, Malcolm, you're almost there, even when he's the last. Cheer them on. And put away distractions. You know, men, you're at home, you have come from office, the next thing you're on your phone. A phone has become a distractor, and so is a laptop. When you have left your busy work, and the TV, please take away the distractions, which is TV, which is but the phone is the most destructive thing. You are catching up on WhatsApp, on Twitter, on everything, and the child will sit and you've ignored. Before you see, you didn't realize the child was actually next to you. Or the child has dozed off.
Daddy, you see, and you say, talk, I'm hearing, but he didn't say you listen, he said you see.
And you've read my message, listen actively. The child is telling you stories, even if they're boring. How? As a father, listen actively and engage and show responses, genuine responses. Oh, really? Oh, I can't imagine. You are actively engaging with your child, you're bonding. And then also be supportive. Offer encouragement and support your child and show them the confidence, self-esteem. You are a bold child, you know. You are a superhero, you know, you've made it. I remember last year, the P7 results weren't good. And all parents were having issues. We happen to be on the parents, WhatsApp pages, and we tell parents, please, even if they have the second, third grade, tell them how they have made it, how it's not their results. Something could have happened, but they will make it. Because the results weren't good, honestly. That is a time when the father would come and call that boy or that girl and say, you know what, my daughter, you know you've been good. I've been seeing you having 90s and 80s and 100. Maybe there was a mistake, but when you reach senior one, show them fire. You'll make it through. My son was expecting 4. He never made it to 4. But I told him, Malcolm, that is not your result. You know how you are. Super. When I went for the first visitation, he said, Mommy, you know, I got 90 in mathematics. Because you're trying to show them that they are good. So as fathers, encourage them. Then create a traditional, if it's a birthday, be available. Celebrate your children. Take them with you to the village, if you can, and walk with them. Our old parents were doing that. They would carry us along to the villages. We have the functions with them. And so this shows that you are actually bonding. And lastly, show love and affection. It is very rare in Africa to find a father hugging and saying those nice things. It sounds Chizungu. It sounds English, but actually it works.
It does.
I love you. You're beautiful. You're smart. Those things help a child to bond with you as a father. Mothers, we always like saying, oh, you're too smart. Oh, you're like. But fathers, rarely. I'm encouraging fathers, please. If you're to bond with your children, those things really matter.
Show them affection. Wonderful. Show them affection. Celebrate their days. Be supportive. Listen actively. Be present and available. Be their cheerleader and give them a loved mother. Today we've been talking about the critical issue of men supporting working mothers. Men supporting mothers, especially in the workplace. I don't know what you've picked out of our conversation today, but as we celebrate motherhood tomorrow, it's my prayer that you as a man will decide to be a supportive person to the mothers around you. And Charity has helped us to decipher the intricacies of this kind of reflection. Right from the home support, participating in activities at home, assisting with childcare, picking children from school and dropping them, and also emotional support, listening actively, encouraging that lady, acknowledging and validating her feelings. To the side of what we've called the practical support, flexible and being flexible and adaptable to changes that happen and helping out on a number of things, glossaries and so on and so forth. It's my prayer that you and I will up our game as far as supporting the ladies around us is concerned. That's part of what makes us real men. But as ladies also, as you've heard, be supportable, be helpable. That word does not exist in English, but I'm coining it up. Be helpable, be supportable. As the men are coming around to offer support, and you really see that these are genuine people who are coming to give a helping hand, please, don't be over suspicious and build walls. Open yourself up, let the people around you be of great support. So I would say, happy Mother's Day tomorrow, 11th of May, as we celebrate you as mothers. But also, finally, to remind all of you that next week, on Friday, on the 16th of May, 2025, it will be the International Day of the Boy Child. 16th May, next Friday. Every year, 16th of May is the International Day of the Boy Child. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it in a country like Uganda, where 95% of prisoners are men? 78,000 inmates, as far as 2024 report of Uganda Prisons Service is concerned. 78,000 prisoners. Out of them, 95% are men. What are you going to do about it in a country like Uganda, where out of the 161 juveniles that were in the Kampiringisa remand home, 100% were boys? What are you going to do about it, whereby those young people between 12 and 17 years who were in Naguru remand home, 156 of them, out of them 153 were boys? What are we going to do about it? Next week, 16th of May, do something to also make these boys feel like they belong, they are loved, and they are appreciated. Until next time, this has been the Inspired Family Leader Program with Samuel A. Bakutana, hosting my sister, Mrs. Charity Ngabirano. Live exemplarily, love authentically, and lead relationally.
Just one wife, that you need the leadership skills of a general.
Yes.
To lead an army of one woman.
So we have to take a lot of pain, a lot of effort to teach children how to get along with one another.
Your raw material is money.